Welcome to the Spiritual Sweet Spot, a place where you can rejuvenate your soul. Hosted by author M.B. Mosley. This is a safe space for all. All right, we're part three. How are you doing? How is your mind? How is your health? And most importantly, how is your soul and your spirit? We are in part three, talking to someone that's unmotivated / demotivated. If anything like me, the last couple weeks, I've been having a hard time trying to get out of bed. And as I was seeking spirit here early in the AM, it's 4:17 AM now. We're on part three. And spirit laid it and said, the art of doing nothing is the art of doing something. And in the midst of all of this revelation from spirit took me back to a reflective moment in life that I tried to neglect and just try to truck along with life. And spirit said, just work with me and let's go here and let's go forward. So if you remember in part one, if you're catching on to part three, there's a part one, part two, we're in part three. Part one, I talked about in 2017, there was the loss of my spiritual mother. I talk about that relationship, and then we delve you into part two, and now we're in part three. So we're back at the point where we're talking about, I gave you a backstory about the Alicia thing and the falsifying of documents. Now we get back into the conference call because that's all tying back in. So now I've sat there. Now, the energy in the room is just all off. But I'm like, sis, maintain by all costs. It's not personal, it's business. And so back in this conference we're having in about early June 2018, the vice president of HR says, they said this meeting was to discuss, the questions that I had. But the vice president of HR goes, you want to talk about how you fired that mother? I was like, sideswiped, what? Hoodwinked, bamboozled, wait, what? Who said what? I said, excuse me? I was so confused, guys. He said, yeah, didn't you just terminate Alicia? I was like, wait, what? Alicia. He's like, yeah. So I catch on quick. Wait a minute. In my mind, you guys are not here to talk about my situation. In my mind, I'm having this dialogue because y'all ain't got nothing to say about that. You're deflecting. Oh my God. I caught on so late. And I said, what about Alicia? And her says, well, you just woke up one day and fired her. And trust me, I've been working for this company, like I said, 15 years, 2018, to be exact, 15 years then. I've always done the things the same way, follow the same protocols, been the same standards of procedures. I go report to my boss. My boss tells me, confirms what I need to do, even though I know what needs to be done. But I get their word first and clinical second, and then did the same procedure. And I said, I'm a little bit confused. And Jim goes, I said, Alicia, yeah, Alicia falsified patient information. Hey, well, wait, listen. Jim goes, what if I'm going to tell you all about this in a second. It's going to tie back. I promise. Jim goes, what if I told you that she never falsified information? Oh my gosh, if gaslighting was a person. I was like, wait, what? I was there. So now, you're thinking, wait. Hello? Hello? Am I on the phone? Am I dreaming? And he say that. Oh, you guys, this is all tying back to this. If you go back to dream interpretation and you find the dream where I was riding over snakes, that's the day before that whole entire debacle, y'all. I'm getting into it now. I'm elaborating further. And then my dream had warned me, like, girl, you about to go meet some big old rounded black snakes, and just go listen to that. I think it's about dreaming about snakes or something like that. But anyways, so I'm like, he's throwing a curveball because we were here to talk about my disciplinary action, and why are we talking about Alicia? But I'm playing with the punch. I'm rolling with the punches. And I say, well, Alicia falsified information. It was brought to my attention by an employee who had seen this. And I witnessed that she falsified information without any measuring instruments. She entered patient information onto patient charts without the patients, without the measurements. That's a liability because in my mind, I'm thinking, wait, am I tripping? Because I knew this was a liability. We're a healthcare company. Anybody want to get sued? And I said, this is a big liability to the company. And let me tell you guys something. When you are in leadership, or if you're in a role that assumes a lot of responsibility, if anybody gets sued in the company that you're in charge of or you're part of, you're going to go first, even if you knew it or not. Police chiefs, retiring. You are going to go first. Okay. Somebody got to go. So, and then the thing is, like, I did my job. I'm so confused. So I'm explaining this situation that I had explained to my boss, and clinical, they gave me the green light to something I knew was already supposed to be done according to our standards of standards of procedures, manual, whatever, handbook, and all that other stuff. So he says, yeah, well, what if I told, he repeated himself because I'm like, what is going on in my mind? He said, what if I told you that never happened? What? I'm like, so what they didn't know is I had a corporate cell phone. I took pictures, not of the patient identifying information, but of the falsification and stuff like that. So that I would have record to document just in case these things happen. But they were not ready because you're trying to outsmart me. And I said, well, I have picture footage of this information. So, and I have an employee who witnessed the same event. They panicked, freaked out. What do you mean? Jim Waters got loud. What do you mean? What do you mean? You got. And then Molly was like, well, she took the conversation on, and she was like, well, why didn't you go and look for she said, why didn't I call the patients so that they could come back and get their measurements done? Ma'am, the rule of principle is an employee, a nurse falsifies patient information, they're to be terminated. Why would we call somebody immediately to tell them, oh, I'm sorry, we falsified your records, so we need to redo it? They're already gone to their homes. It's already done. They have to call them to get a whole new comeback on another day. It's not something you just say, come right on back. And then I said, what are the consequences for Alicia? And I say, everybody wants to get quiet now. First freaked out because they thought they were going to, I don't know, coax me. I'm still confused up to this day what that ambush was of disinformation and lies and gaslighting. And so I say, is my job not to make sure that there is less liabilities? We're a healthcare company, and to avoid lawsuits. And I followed the procedures. Tom approved is the one that told me to term her. Lori in clinical say term her. I did what leadership called to do. Then what's her name? Molly, she already had an attitude from the start because she wasn't trying to do a job, and when I cut CC, then she wanted to do a job, and now she was pissed off for some reason. But you're playing with my livelihood, though. I've never done anybody wrong in this company. I served it diligently 15 years of my life when other people in leadership were embezzling funds from this company, doing whatever they wanted to do. I stood there loyally like a fool. But let's continue. You learn. Life is about learning. And so Molly's like, she's thinking of all these weird scenarios, right? Now you're talking to people that are not clinicians. They're sitting in a corporation somewhere, not in the field. And so I told him this conference, because it was getting really weird. It was getting weird because they were not trying to discuss my disciplinary action. I'd already caught on that they're trying to avoid it. And so because I had hit him with the liability and lawsuit, and she, that was, she neglected, that was negligence. Like, that is a rule of, that's in our protocol, whatever. And so they switched the angle real quick. And they said, you know what they started saying? Let me tell you something. Molly, HR manager, I met her one time when I went out to Ohio. One time. Corporate event, Ohio. One time. Elevator ride together, per matter of fact. Hello, hi, I'm Molly, so. I'm Emery. Oh, nice to meet you. Boom. One time. Never worked with her. She's not a clinician. Jim met him one time when they were impressed with the numbers I was making. Honey, my numbers were ranking, okay? They were surging. They were up there. And he got flued out. He flew out and came to meet to see the wonders we were doing with our numbers. Oh, they love you when those numbers are high and you're putting money in the corporation's account. Oh, you are stellar. I mean, look at how they're doing the clinicians today. But sidebar, heroes yesterday, but no zeros today. Here, essential workers yesterday, but zeros today. But I digress. And so that's what one time Jim met him one time. Gave me my kudos, gave me my street cred, And now I'm on this phone, right? I'm bringing back facts as it pertains to the records we have to bring facts to. Our protocols, our standards of procedures, our handbook and stuff like that. Then they throw this thing in off. Molly goes, oh, no, Jim. Well, the way I hear you're running things over there, everybody's leaving you. They failed to topple me down with the whatever they wanted to topple me down with, because I'm like, that was a liability. That's a lawsuit. I have the first and last names of those patients, and I remember the city and state they reside in. Don't test me, because if I whistleblow, they could enrich themselves with a lawsuit. Because if you all don't do what you're supposed to do, you're giving them false results. They're false results. But that's not where my heart was set up. I just needed them to do what was right all across the board. And so here goes this thing. So then they see, okay, well, she's talking about what's in the handbook and everything like that. Jim Waters just goes, well, I hear the way you're running things, people are leaving. Now, remember, at the top of the podcast, I was mentioning the transition. So we lost a seasoned employee and an amazing employee because she had like this carpal tunnel and she had to get the surgery and she couldn't come back. So it was health related. And then I lost another seasoned employee. I'm talking about both of them were there for over 10 years alongside of me, and because her partner's father had lung cancer and they had to leave, and I think they're going to leave for Texas. So it was all about just, couldn't stay at the job for both of those people. But here goes this vice president of HR, the way I hear it and the way you're, and then the nurse practitioner at the start of the year 2018 in March put in a notice. She was a new hire for the new program we had, which the program was only 2.5 years, and she had been there 2.5 years. And in March, when she put in her notice, was because they were originally from Chicago and her husband had retired here. So they were moving back to Chicago. So, okay, that's 3 people. Transitions. Here goes Mr. VP of HR. The way I hear it, the way you're running things over there, you're running away employees. You guys, if I'm lying, I am dying. I have never in 15 years of being in a corporate setting, both in leadership and as a clinician, ever experienced this level of unprofessionalism. And I've been in conference calls. We've been in think tanks. We've different places, but never this. I was not ready. And my poor husband, I'm sitting, because now I'm just thinking, what's going on? So my tears are streaming, because it's like, what are these people doing? And I don't know how he knew, but he just came. He saw me just looking defeated, tears coming down. I'm on the phone because I'm like, what? In my mind, I'm thinking, what? And so now I'm like more so now just defending myself to people that have never worked with me, but the lies. And so now, and do you know what Mr. VP of HR say? The way I hear it is you're running people away like I am this evil, conniving leader that's like, people cannot work with me, which was a lie, because everyone that had been there, I lost 2 seasons, the new nurse practitioner, but she had 2.5 year program. She was there 2.5. And then, I still had a couple of employees that also had tenure there, is what I wanted to say. But what I'm saying is, he's acting like, and then this is what he said. And he said, I heard, what is it, about 6 people that have left? OMG, are you serious? 6 people? 6? So I'm thinking, so I'm like, so now I'm caught defending myself, my truth, which they know is the truth, but I'm like, why? What? And I said, it's 3 people. It's 3 people, and the Shelby had carpal tunnel. She couldn't come back after the surgery. Tanya's father-in-law, they were long-term partners. They're not married, but you get it. Tanya's boyfriend's dad had lung cancer. They took care of him, and now they're kind of relocating to Texas. And then, and the nurse practitioner, she had to go back to Chicago because her husband retired here locally, and they were moving back to Chicago. Y'all get it, right? So how did I run those people away? There's no need to even justify this madness that they're trying to pile on me at this point in time, because he's already exaggerated the number. He said 6 people or some crap like that. So I mentioned 3 people and the reasons why they left. And he's like, well, the way I heard it, listen to all of it. The way I heard it is that he kept saying 6 people. These 6 people, weren't you the one that, then when they not your friends? I have lived in the Midwest ever since this organization had relocated me. Never once did I ever employ a friend. I didn't have friends like that here. I had associates, kickball associates, and so forth, but never once did I ever work with anyone that I knew outside of this job. And where is this man getting this information from? What are you guys talking about? And I was like, I don't have friends or friends that would have worked for the company with me. Oh, well, the way I heard is, he kept saying that. And I said, okay. So now I'm like, and then she comes in, this one, Molly, she's got her old grievances, and they're taking it sideways because they're trying to save face, because this is the co-CEO's brother. How are they going to fix this? This is a co-CEO's brother who didn't mess this up. So how are they going to clean this up? They can't. So they're going to act like and disinformation, lie, and all this other stuff. She jumps in and she says, starts talking about, they're talking about my performance, which is so ironic and funny, because all the reviews I've had them with those bosses that as reviews go, and nothing negative has ever happened. We've had, it's always been like positive stuff. And they're just talking about, we just heard that you can't keep employees. They're talking about my employee retention, which has always been stellar. The numbers were great. The deposits were deposited. The company, it's like, wow. And so I got tired of fighting, because I realized that I was under attack. My whole entire life, I was naive to the fact that true evil never existed. And here it was in my ears. And so I quickly thought, I said, listen, because then I was so drained because the information they were saying was not true. And I'm not sure what they were trying to do, because, I reflect back. I didn't dwell on it, but when I had thought, like, what were they trying to do at that time? Because I'm like, well, you pushing me to like quit? Because then it was weird, because the bigger person was me. And I was like, okay. I said to them, I said, I think I'm done with this conversation. I want to thank you for your time. I don't feel comfortable. I at least need a lawyer here with me. That's when things became a little bit quiet. And so then it became quiet. Then Molly was like, well, and I'm on vacation. Number one, they'd already broken a rule. You contacting me while I'm on vacation. But, she goes, okay, well, when you come back from vacation, I hope you have this time to think about your attitude and how to come back bigger and better. People that have never given me a review a day in their lives, never worked with me, just chop after chop after chop after chop me at the ankles, okay? And so now I was like, just down with it. I said, okay. I just started saying, okay. because I've never been that let's go nasty toe for toe. I don't know what they were looking for. Were they looking for that anger to come out? No, it's never existed. I've never done that back and anyways. And she just goes like, yeah, I mean, that jab, just when you come back, you better come back with a better attitude. I had never had an issue. Never had an issue. Never. You could ask any of my bosses. Nothing. No issue. Attitude. Now I got an attitude. If I'm so bad, why did I have long-standing employees? If I'm so bad, Anyway, so I'm just like, okay, got it. Sure. Okay, because, I'm done. And Jim goes, when you come back, you're going to have this time to think about all of these things and come back with a refreshed attitude. And I already knew. We never talked about my write-up. You see how they deflected that, right? I'm not slow. I was like, okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time. Gotta go. My tears were already streaming, but I was not going to have them hear me sob. I get off the phone. My husband's like, what's going on? I explain it to him. And at that moment, I realized I had just faced great evil. And what they impel, and then they telling me everything when I come back. That's why I was confused. I was like, it almost felt like you guys were pushing me to the edge to quit. But now you have hopes that I'm actually going to come back. You just talked to me like a plantation worker. And then you want to wrap it up at the end like when you come back. Thank you. When I got off the phone, I made a decision that day that I wasn't going back. And I made that decision. It was a painful decision. I enjoyed my patients. I loved what I did. I enjoyed my patients, and I had to make the most painful decision of all because I felt like, what do I look like going back to work for an institute that doesn't have integrity? An institute that just sat there and gutted me like a fish. It's one thing to say, thank you so much. We see that you've worked for the company for 15 years, no issues, no problems. We're going to look into your issue and see how we could address this. Like I said, I've always told people, had they just said that, I would have probably been still there. I would have never gone back to check in and say, hey, did you check in? But the fact that they lied and just the disinformation and the tearing down, I had never, I'd heard of these stories of people talking about my boss lied on me and all this. And I used to think, what kind of people are those? But here it is, a vice president of human resources and a manager of human resources, the two people that should represent the human resources department, tore down one of the longest standing employee, might I add, with no record, loyal employee. And I told myself, you know what? They don't deserve that. They don't deserve me. As hard as that decision was, I made it. As we truck along to this Unmotivated, to this podcast of my reflection with Spirit on being unmotivated, losing the spark, it is also within these times you're finding yourself perhaps leaving a career, a long-standing career that you thought you were maybe not ready for. I had my goal for 2020, but not 2018. And perhaps you're finding yourself being pushed out the door. Maybe you're finding yourself out of something you love and you're thinking, what's next? But I could tell you for myself at that moment, I was terrified and I was scared. Because I loved what I did. I loved the patients. Definitely the work culture there was toxic, but I overlooked that because my relationship with the patients and just the some of the employees that were there, that were seasoned, that were great employees, made it worth a while. And trust and believe, when I made that decision and never went back. And this is in 2018. So June starts my journey. I was spiraling down. And for the first time, I was down for a while. It took me about 6 months there in darkness. Once again, at that moment, and it's a different feel from now. At that moment, it was just, because now what am I getting up for? Couldn't get out of bed because where am I going? I'm not going to work, where am I going? So felt so purposeless. Like, what do I do now? Like, where do I go? And what I want to remind you while we move on this parts of this series to tie it all back in. Whatever situation you have going on right now is not permanent. Whatever situation you have going on right now is not permanent. It feels like the end. It feels hopeless. It feels lonely. It feels helpless, but it's not the end. Wherever you are today is not going to be the same next year, same time. You're going to be in a different place. I'm here to tell you that from experience, because when I left that long career, I felt all those things. Lonely, helpless, hopeless, purposeless, dark. Didn't want to leave the house. Dr. Phil. I watched a lot of Dr. Phil. And I watched a lot of daytime shows, but it was hard. It was hard. A lot of pain. And it was then that I felt anxiety. I never knew what that was. One day I was sitting there and I thought I was having a heart attack because I was scared to go back to work. I didn't know that event had traumatized me to that moment. I'm kidding you not, because I was scared, because I felt like I'd put in my whole entire life of this work ethic. I worked around the clock. I did what I was supposed to do. I showed up when I was supposed to show up. I worked when I was supposed to work up. I kept the numbers up like I was supposed to. I would have felt better if at least I was haphazard or just been like, yeah, whatever, man. Or if I didn't really care, but I showed up. I showed up. I showed up. And that was the thanks I got after everything I did for that company. 15 years of my life. They disrespected me in a matter of 20, 25 minutes on the phone. So definitely, when I left that call, I knew I'd experienced evil that I didn't know how I was going to process. When I went to the doctors, they couldn't find anything. They put the EKG, everything, and all this other stuff. And my doctor said, you have anxiety. It made sense. I wasn't sure yet what it was. But because I was this girl that, I got up, I had a routine, got up for the gym, went to work, just always, everything was always on the bright side. But here I was after that incident, because it's like, and maybe it's also stems to like childhood stuff, because I don't like people to lie. I don't like liars, but it's like you lied about me, and it's my character I value more so than anything. And when I would sit here, and I didn't know that's how anxiety works, like, because I thought, I'm just watching Dr. Phil. And then I just get this intense, like almost like beat in my heart. And I just feel like super, like, just like, it's hard to explain it. It just, and I found myself crying a lot because I was scared. And I tell you guys, I barricaded myself in my house for those 6 months because I was scared to go out. I was paranoid. I was just like, I had never, ever had anybody in my life do that. Just to rip my character in shreds in a matter of 20, 25 minutes, to just lie. So it took me apart. Now we're winding to what this is all about, talking about the being unmotivated, demotivated, and just being in this moment where Spirit has reminded me that the art of doing nothing is the art of doing something, and tying back all of this. And then Spirit said, let's take this memory walk so we could circle back and we could get to where she's wanting to tell me what it is that she's wanting to tell me, that has given me yet another hope for this amazing journey that we are on. Because remember, I'm not perfect. This is the journey to true self. So remember that. Let's recap. 2017, I lose this valuable person in my life, the only maternal woman in my life that ever viewed me as a human, that loved me as her daughter, that took me in, that supported me. Any little thing I did, she was proud of me. And that feeling itself was just amazing. I lose this person. I lost this person in an unresolved manner. So I'm drowning in that. You turn around in 2018, this big old wahala going on. of chaos, a cesspool of mess. I got these people all my life. And I think also, I've been in therapy, and I'll tell you in the next part 4. But I started going back to therapy. But listen, I realized that a lot of things had happened, and all of this has inspired the journey to true self. Because growing up, I never had support. I just always felt like I was always fighting for myself, fighting for to just make it, and perhaps subconsciously wanting just for someone to either like say, wow, we're proud of you, or you're doing good. So that's why I felt like when it came to work, I was hands-on. I did everything like I was supposed to, but nobody ever tells you that when it backfires, what do you do? Let's go on to part 4. Spirit is saying, hang in there, because I am going to bring it all back full circle with these revelations. I'm getting a new hope on this journey. The art of doing nothing is the art of doing something. This is tying right back to the last couple of weeks that I've been feeling unmotivated/demotivated, just lost the spark, the passion, and just kind of in a whole different blanket of sorrow there. And just sitting around feeling like I'm wasting time. All right, let's track along to part 4. Question, friend. Have you ever been at a crossroad where you had to choose the ethical versus the unethical? And had you have to make a decision based on self-preservation? And if so, how did that change your life? And or how did it work out? Do you regret the decision? And or what lesson did you learn, whether you picked the ethical route or the unethical route? Love you guys. All right, guys, that's it for now, but tune in to the next podcast. This is all important. Spirit has a message, and the final part will reflect the revelation for Spirit's message for taking me down this path that I've been avoiding to face in my life, and everything will tie back. Just rock with me and see where it ends. Now, I have an important message. I love you guys so much, and if you find yourself in a space where you feel that you need help and you feel that it is beyond you, I advise that you reach out to the helpline, the national helpline. It is 1-800-662-HELP. That is 1-800-662-HELP. 4357. If you feel that you're at an ends meet with life and don't know how to go forward and you need help, reach out to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration number. That is 1-800-662-4357. Guys, I am a big proponent of mental health. I am currently in therapy. I've been seeing a therapist for the last 2 years, and I recommend it to anybody that feels this is beyond me. I need somebody to give me guidance. For me, therapy has been one of those where I get this different perspective that also helps me deal with myself. And folks, sometimes it will take time to find the therapist. It's kind of like finding that person that is able to work with you, and no one person is perfect. It took me two therapists to find the third therapist that was well versed in narcissism and childhood traumas, and that is exactly what I needed. I needed the healing proponent to work issues out from my childhood. So guys, don't be afraid to reach out for help, and the national helpline is 800-662-4357. I love you, and tune in. Let's keep this going, because there is a strong message for that individual that's sitting there unmotivated, feeling like you've lost your spark. Perhaps you've walked away from that career and you were not yet ready because of all this wahala that's going on in the world today. Honey, I'm here to tell you that there is hope. I'm here too. I'm still sitting and I'm still standing. So tune in for that next podcast. I love you guys so much. Do you keep getting a reoccurring dream and are trying to figure out why you keep dreaming of the same dream? Or perhaps are you dreaming of teeth falling out? Or have you ever had a dream where you were naked, and perhaps even naked in public? OMG, how embarrassing. Or perhaps you don't remember your dreams when you wake up. Well, check it out. Join us at the Dream Decoding podcast, where I teach you on how to train yourself to have a memory recall, and or I teach you on how to understand your dreams as it pertains to your current waking life. The importance of understanding the symbols and messages that we get in our dream realm is because sometimes these messages are coming to give us a good word and or to help us along the path. So don't miss out. Join us at the Dream Decoding podcast with your host, Memory.